Okay, Professor, so I'm showing my computer programming 4. This is basically the template that we were using. We're doing a sprint backlog of all of the stuff that they have to do, their current sprint. They're going to do peer checking first, and then I'm going to be doing the review, and then I'll move it down to the done pile. So this is my template. They put their last name, their first name, their game name in. Now for the boards, so that I still maintain administrator rights on it using the free version. I actually have to go in to the board. I make a copy of the board, and then I can assign that board to each individual student. So right now theirs is just empty. They have the boards. Once they finish their game design document, that's when they're starting to add the cards for each development piece. Each feature that they have to do, they're going to start throwing them in their sprint backlog and then moving them up. So they're still working on their game design document. Now, I did give them access to the user stories from Professor Olinsky. So they have those as an idea of how much detail they should be looking at that I gave them while they were doing their development goals, so that they can kind of, if they're stumped on what they need to be doing, what they should be looking at, told them they should have around 100 to 150 user stories for the year. And for me, for a management standpoint, where is mine? Flow template, is that? Nope. I have a board that I can tie to the individual students. Hold on. I don't know where I put it. Nope, that's not it. It's another board where I can have each person's individual board. Oh, here it is. Oh, that was silly. So this, when we're ready to start kicking off, then this board, this will be attached to each individual board like this. Let me go ahead and copy the link. So Spencer Chilsom's, I want his actual board, so I can go to CP4, and this one I can actually do an attachment of the entire board. So this is his board. And then what I can do with that is that I can start giving him comments to that as a whole, or I can just use it as access for being able to get into each individual board instead of having to look around. I can open them all up. And then I can do with that is that if I see that their milestones are not where they should be and they're falling a little bit behind, I can move it to behind, or if they're on track based off of what I see off there. Plus for Trello, their Burndown Charts, I can move it and keep them kind of organized on where they should be for their sprints, so that I can kind of preempt them before it becomes too late on their sprints. So each student would end up moving here, and this is how I can make sure that I'm checking my stuff for the week for each of their individual projects. Other than that, that is for right now, that works. I may end up wanting to have another way where I can start kind of mirroring boards, and on here have what I've researched. A lot of it is a pretty high cost, but I could have their checklist. So each card that they do and move to different piles, I can have that appear as a checklist on here of individual things. So it'll start showing if they are, as more of a bird's eye view, if they had 7 things that they needed to do for milestone, let's say milestone 1, and they checked off those cards, all the list inside those cards, they moved those cards to a done or review pile, then it would check it off here and show it as done on that checklist. That is using Trello, Butler, and a couple other things for card mirroring. A lot of them, if I got into that point, that'd be a pretty big expense. So right now, this works. I just have to end up delving down into their individual projects when they get to that point and they have their development logs. This is where I can start going through and I can add individual comments to their boards, watch their whole board, to see if there was any type of changes or anything going on and how they're doing it, and comment based off of what I'm seeing on their projects. So they will more than likely share their code, not through here because they'll be limited on space, but they can put links to GitHub where I can pull down their codes and I can check. And then they can still do their links to their YouTube videos inside the cards themselves to show that they've met that, demoing it and explaining the code. Alrighty.